gmna uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good evening. This hour will unpack the troubling discovery of dead ducks and fish at Sable Harbor, get updates on the Humboldt Park drive-by shooting, and preview Wednesday's rain and thunderstorms across the city. We'll also hear about Lexington Betty Smokehouse's new campus location. Over to you, Miles.
Miles, the vintage audio repair shop on Southport Avenue celebrated its 20th anniversary this week, offering meticulous restoration for classic turntables, tube amplifiers, and reel-to-reel tape decks.
Rosalind, owner Jim Harper announced he will keep the studio operating as Chicago's sole dedicated vintage audio repair shop, emphasizing handcrafted service and a commitment to preserving analog sound heritage.
Miles, the shop hosts monthly listening nights, inviting local enthusiasts to experience restored records on original equipment, and partners with the Chicago Music Archive for hands-on educational workshops each quarter.
Rosalind, lots to get to. Let's begin, friends, as we dive into today's stories and keep the conversation rolling together. Here are our top stories. Volunteers with Chicago bird collision monitors discovered multiple dead ducks and fish at Sable Harbor downtown, prompting Illinois state wildlife officials to launch an investigation. The inquiry remains ongoing. Delia Vasquez has the full story.
Volunteers with the Chicago bird collision monitors arrived at Sable Harbor this morning to find a cluster of dead ducks floating near the pier, accompanied by several dead fish along the shoreline. The find was reported on August 19, 2026, after volunteers flagged the scene as part of their regular checks. State wildlife officials were called in and have opened an investigation into the sudden die-off. The harbor, a busy public spot on Lake Michigan, is routinely monitored for bird collisions, but today's discovery is unusual. Officials are collecting samples and speaking with witnesses to determine if water quality or another factor played a role. The area remains open to the public while the inquiry proceeds. Delia Vasquez, GMNA News, Sable Harbor.
3 people were wounded in a drive-by shooting on August 19 in a Humboldt Park parking lot, Chicago Police Department officials said. Officers responded to reports of gunfire at approximately 2:30 p.m. at the lot on West 18th Street. Upon arrival, they found 3 victims with non-life-threatening injuries, provided emergency medical aid, and transported them to area hospitals. Detectives are canvassing the scene, reviewing surveillance video, and interviewing witnesses as the investigation proceeds. The incident adds to a recent string of gun-related events in the Humboldt Park neighborhood, a community that has seen several shootings in recent weeks. No arrests have been made. A CPD spokesperson indicated that patrols will be increased in the vicinity, while the homicide unit remains on scene to secure evidence and pursue leads. The department emphasized its commitment to a thorough investigation.
The WNDR Museum announced it will shutter its 2 U.S. sites in September. The interactive art space opened its Chicago location in 2018, then added a Boston branch in 2022, drawing thousands of guests each year. In a statement released this week, the museum said the decision comes after a strategic review and that both venues will close within weeks of the September deadline. Staff at the Loop-adjacent Chicago venue are preparing to wind down operations, while the Boston location on the waterfront will follow the same timeline. The closures mark the end of a 6-year run for the Chicago space and a 4-year chapter in Boston, leaving the city's cultural calendar without the immersive pop-up experience that attracted families and tourists alike. Local arts groups are already discussing how to fill the void left by the museum's departure.
Police say a 17-year-old male was fatally shot in a drive-by outside the 2600 block of South Hamlin Avenue in South Lawndale. Around 11:10 p.m. investigators seek information on the dark-colored SUV. Delia Vasquez has the full story.
At about 11:10 p.m., a dark-colored SUV rolled past the 2600 block of South Hamlin Avenue, unleashing a hail of gunfire that struck a 17-year-old male standing near the curb. Emergency responders arrived within minutes, but the teenager was pronounced dead at the scene. Witnesses reported hearing multiple rounds and seeing the vehicle speed away before turning onto a side street. Chicago police have opened a homicide investigation, noting a recent uptick in drive-by incidents across the city. Detectives are canvassing the neighborhood and urging anyone with video or observations to come forward, especially details about the SUV's make, model, or license plate. The case remains active as officers continue to piece together the shooter's identity. Delia Vasquez, GMNA News, South Lawndale.
Chicago police confirmed a series of shootings that left 7 teenagers wounded and 1 dead across the city on Tuesday night, August 18, and into early Wednesday, August 19. The incidents occurred in multiple neighborhoods, with authorities responding to each scene as calls came in. All victims were identified as minors, ages ranging from early teens to late teens. Police have opened investigations into each shooting and are reviewing surveillance footage and witness statements. No arrests have been announced at this time. Officials described the incidents as separate events, and each case is being treated as a homicide investigation. Detectives are canvassing the neighborhoods for additional witnesses and have asked anyone with information to contact authorities. The department urged residents to avoid the areas where the shootings took place while detectives continue to gather evidence. The fatality was pronounced at a local hospital after emergency responders arrived at the scene. Later, we'll hear how a vintage audio repair veteran vows to stay the last, plus a 130-foot truck stop sign rescue. We will be right back. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes, the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Welcome back. Roman Sokolov, a longtime electronic engineer on the Near West Side, told us today he will keep his small shop open as Chicago's final source for vintage audio repair. In a city where only a handful of businesses still service classic amplifiers, turntables, and reel-to-reel tape decks, Sokolov's decision marks the end of an era for audiophiles who cherish analog sound. He said the shop, which has been fixing legacy equipment for more than 3 decades, will remain a haven for collectors and musicians seeking a hands-on fix rather than a digital workaround. Sokolov added that while demand has dwindled, the passion of his customers keeps the trade alive, and he hopes his work will inspire a new generation to appreciate the craft of analog restoration. He plans to mentor apprentices and keep the vintage sound alive for years to come.
An electrician was rescued Wednesday night after being trapped for 6 hours inside a 130-foot truck stop sign in Wilmington. Emergency crews worked through the night to free him. Grady Sokolowski has the full story.
An electrician spent 6 hours stuck inside a massive 130-foot tall sign at a truck stop in Wilmington after a component gave way while he was on the job. First responders arrived quickly, setting up a safety perimeter and deploying a ladder crew to reach the top of the towering structure. Crews worked through the night, carefully lowering a harness and rope system to extract the worker without further injury. By early morning, the electrician was free and evaluated by on-site medical staff who cleared him for transport home. The incident prompted a temporary shutdown of the sign for inspection and repair. Fire department units from neighboring districts assisted, bringing additional rope gear and lighting to the site. Grady Sokolowski, GMNA News, Wilmington.
Rain and non-severe storms are set to move across the Chicago area this afternoon and into the evening as a cold front pushes south. The NBC5 storm team, citing the National Weather Service, warns that scattered to isolated showers and thunderstorm activity will concentrate along and south of Interstate 80, extending into the Kankakee region. While the storms are not expected to reach severe levels, gusty winds and brief heavy rain could affect commuters on the Dan Ryan and Kennedy corridors, as well as drivers on the interstate. The front will continue to drift eastward after sunset, tapering off after midnight. Residents should stay alert to changing conditions, especially those planning outdoor events or traveling on affected roadways. Minor street flooding could develop in low-lying neighborhoods, and a few schools have activated contingency plans for delayed classes. The forecast remains unchanged through the evening.
Amazon announced today it will extend its Prime Air drone delivery service to Chicago and 497 other U.S. communities, bringing the program to 500 cities nationwide. The company says the lightweight package system will launch in the Windy City later this year, using autonomous aircraft to drop parcels within a few miles of customers' doors. Chicago officials welcomed the move, noting the potential to speed deliveries in dense neighborhoods while easing road traffic. Amazon's rollout follows a year-long pilot that tested drones in select suburbs, and the firm says it has secured all necessary Federal Aviation Administration approvals for urban operations. Residents can expect the service to operate under strict safety guidelines, with flights limited to daylight hours and a maximum altitude of 400 feet. The expansion marks the latest step in the retailer's push to modernize last-mile logistics across the country.
Police responded to a little village apartment around 11:35 p.m., finding a 59-year-old suspect who stabbed a woman, killing her, and then injured himself. Roman Zabel has the full story.
Police responded to a report of a stabbing just after 11:35 on Tuesday night in an apartment building on the west side. Inside, officers found a woman who had been stabbed multiple times with a steak knife and was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect, a 59-year-old man, turned the knife on himself, sustaining serious injuries. He was taken into custody and is now hospitalized, awaiting further investigation. Neighbors reported hearing loud shouting and the sound of breaking glass before the police arrived. The investigation is ongoing, and detectives are working to determine what led to the violent incident. Authorities are reviewing surveillance footage from the building now. Roman Zabel, GMNA News, Little Village.
Now let's get a quick look at tonight's forecast with our meteorologist and see what's ahead.
A strengthening westerly jet slices the Midwest, while rising pressure seals in tonight's clear, calm air. The all-time August high for Chicago sits at degrees, set in 2015 during a lingering heat wave that pushed dew points into the mid-70s. The record low, 51 degrees, fell in 2014 when an Arctic front slipped far south, dumping icy air into the city for a rare midsummer freeze. By comparison, today's climate normals hover around 84 degrees for the high and 66 for the low, underscoring how today's mild 77 feels comfortably below the long-term average. It shows the swing possible in late summer. The live radar is a blank canvas across Illinois and the lake, no echoes of rain or snow in sight. A high-pressure ridge is inflating over the region, and the fast westerly jet aloft is steering any moisture well north of the city. With the air mass drying out, we expect clear skies to hold through the night as we pivot to the evening outlook. At 6 p.m., Chicago sits at 73 degrees under a crystal-clear dome, humidity lingering near 80%, and a light northeast breeze at 9 miles per hour. The pressure field is nudging upward, sealing in the dry air that the strong westerly jet has ushered aloft, keeping the atmosphere stable through the night. With the sun setting just before 8, temperatures will dip slowly to 66 by sunrise, while the UV index holds at 6 for the brief twilight. Winds remain gentle, never exceeding 12 miles per hour, and no watches or warnings are in effect. With the night holding firm, we now glance ahead to the 5-day pattern overall. Looking ahead, Thursday brings another calm day with highs perched at 77 and lows sliding to 59, a dry clear sky under the same high-pressure dome. Friday stays warm at 77, but a weak trough drifts east, allowing a 30% chance of rain in the late afternoon while lows hold at 61. Saturday repeats the 77 high, but the low climbs to 66 as the ridge deepens, keeping skies spotless. Sunday cools noticeably, topping out at 70 and dipping to 64, a subtle north-south gradient that still favors sunshine. Monday returns to the mid-70s, high 73, low 63, with mostly clear skies as the jet stream remains anchored west. The week's pattern showcases a steady warm spell punctuated by a brief Friday shower window. And that's your weather. Remember, the local sunset is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Up next, we break down traffic jams, highlight Lexington Betty Smokehouse's campus location, and preview the Cubs White Sox showdown. We will be right back. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
No major incidents are holding up traffic across the city this evening. Lakeshore Drive, the Dan Ryan, the Kennedy, the Interstate 90 and 94, and the Eisenhower are all moving at free flow speeds. The loop near Northwest Loop and the South Loop see smooth flow. Drivers can expect steady conditions through the rush hour window, though the usual evening buildup may start on the far south side after 8 o'clock as commuters head home. If you're heading downtown, you'll still have a clear path, but keep an eye on the Lakeshore ramp near the museum campus as wind can cause occasional slowdowns later. CTA trains and buses are running on schedule, with no reported delays on the red, blue, or brown lines. Overall, it's a calm commute this afternoon, so you can stick to your usual routes and plan for a smooth ride home.
First up, Sound and Gravity Festival lands the first weekend of September 3rd through September 6th, across the Athenaeum Center, Beat Kitchen, Constellation, and other venues. It's Chicago's biggest showcase of experimental music and visual art, promising surprise collaborations that will keep the city buzzing. Next, Chicago Story Fest returns September 18th for a one-night celebration of villains at the Athenaeum Center. Lovers of dark twists on classic tales will find a perfect excuse to explore the city's literary underbelly. If you're looking for movement now, Grant Park's free summer dance series is back with salsa, samba, and Chicago step classes under the lakefront sky. No ticket, just a willingness to try a new step and soak up summer energy. Finally, Anatomy of a Suicide runs through August 30th at Red Twist Theater, presented by Metal Shop Performance Lab and Junkheart Theater. The raw, intimate piece sparks conversation about mental health long after the curtain falls. And now here's Theo with sports.
Crosstown fireworks ignite as the Cubs and White Sox clash under Chicago skies. The Cubs host the White Sox at 1:20 Central, the latest chapter in the crosstown rivalry. Both clubs bring hot bats and a chance to shift the late-season standings, so fans should lock in the live feed and watch the momentum swing in real time. After two gut-punch walk-off defeats at Wrigley, the White Sox aim to salvage the series finale and keep their four-game cushion over the Twins intact. A win would preserve their AL Central lead while giving the club a chance to regroup before heading back south. Pete Crow Armstrong's two-run walk-off blast in the 10th kept the Cubs alive as they chase a sweep of the White Sox. This marks the 18th of 60 regular season meetings where Chicago has claimed the first two games, putting pressure on the Sox to avoid a third loss. The live game threads for Wednesday's Cubs-White Sox showdown provide a real-time pulse on every play, pitch, and fan reaction. Tune in at 1:20 Central to follow the action, share insights, and see how the rivalry unfolds across innings. Back-to-back walk-off victories have the Cubs matching the franchise mark of 13 such games, echoing the magic of two historic seasons. The surge fuels talk of a championship bridge, and each clutch moment tightens the race for the division crown. Alex Bregman's ninth-inning single capped a dramatic comeback, turning a one-run deficit into a walk-off win over the White Sox. Pete Crow Armstrong's leadoff homer set the tone, underscoring Chicago's knack for late-inning resilience as they chase postseason positioning. Stay tuned for more drama as Chicago's season races toward the finish.
Thanks, Theo. Lexington Betty Smokehouse in Pullman is taking its smoky, soulful barbecue from the neighborhood streets to the halls of the University of Chicago. The beloved joint, known for ribs that melt on the bone and brisket brushed with a sweet, tangy sauce, is opening a new campus outpost called Little Betty inside the university dining hall. This marks the first time the family-run shop will serve students and faculty, expanding a local flavor into an academic arena. The move not only creates a convenient, home-cooked option for busy scholars, it also showcases Pullman's culinary heritage to a wider audience. In a city built on neighborhoods, Lexington Betty reminds us that great food is the glue that binds us together. Stay tuned as Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez launches his re-election campaign and discover why Carlinville earned the 2026 Hallmark Christmas Town title. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Welcome back. Byron Sigcho Lopez announced his bid to retain the aldermanic seat in Chicago's 25th Ward Thursday, after being removed from the ballot for Rep. Garcia's vacant congressional seat due to insufficient signatures. Imani Whitfield has the full story.
At a packed community center in Pilsen, Byron Sigcho Lopez declared Tuesday that he will seek another term representing the 25th Ward on the City Council. The former mayoral aide framed the decision as a return to the neighborhood after the state board removed his name from the ballot for the open congressional seat. Sigcho Lopez had been aiming for the Democratic nomination to fill Rep. Jesus Chai Garcia's vacant U.S. House seat, but the filing board ruled his independent candidate petition fell short of the required signatures. With that door closed, he said his focus shifts back to the ward that first elected him, promising to keep fighting for affordable housing, small business support, and public safety. Imani Whitfield, GMNA News, Pilsen.
Carlinville, Illinois joins 24 other communities as a Hallmark Christmas town for 2026, recognized for its strong holiday traditions and community spirit. Grady Sokolowski has the full story.
Hallmark just announced that Carlinville joins a select group of 25 communities honored as official Christmas towns for the 2026 season. The small Midwestern city earned the nod thanks to its long-standing holiday parades, tree lighting ceremonies, and a flurry of local events that draw families from the surrounding county. Residents will see a boost in visitor traffic as fans of the channel's seasonal movies plan road trips to experience the town's festive storefronts, light displays, and community choir performances. Local businesses are already prepping decorations, while the city council is coordinating volunteer groups to keep the celebrations running smoothly through December. The designation puts Carlinville on the map for holiday-seeking travelers across the country. Grady Sokolowski, GMNA News, Carlinville.
Thank you, Chicago, for joining us tonight. From the remarkable story of the city's vintage audio repair veteran who's determined to be the last, to the other headlines that matter, we appreciate your trust. I'm Rosalind Carney. Tune in tomorrow for more of the local sunset.